My name is Peter Lord, and nice to meet you, Sylvie. Actually, it's a pleasure to meet you. Been doing a lot of reading and investigating and listening to your music, and I'm very excited to have you here.
I deny it all, otherwise I'll take my green card.
Okay. And you're originally from England.
That's right, from London.
From London. So, and I know that one of the ways that you got involved with rock and roll music and recording was you worked for Sound Magazine originally.
Sounds plural.
And you covered the Hollywood beat.
I was. I had a column called Hollywood Highs, and it was just one adventure after the other. It was a weekly magazine.
Okay.
Back before there were faxes, let alone any emails. So it was constantly just shoving envelopes into a post or getting on the phone, calling Collect to England and reading articles over the phone. So it was an absolute riot.
Wow. Wow. So that was completely different because of the lack of technology as it might be today.
It was also completely different because it was a time just before rock got very, very complicated in the 80s, where it was just a little bit too much of the sort of coke and the girls with identical boobs in hot tubs. So somewhere between that, in the late 70s, early 80s, was an absolutely perfect time. I just by complete luck happened to be in on, and that was when you could get access to bands. So it wasn't difficult to talk to Bruce Springsteen or Steely Dan or Tom Petty or these people, because there were so few relatively people working as music journalists. And back then as well, the other great thing was that every club I went to, they had an open tab. So even though I wasn't really making enough money to buy food, I had the major food groups on a regular basis, which was caloric cream and peanuts, dairy and protein. So that was a wonderful time, and just so lucky to have been going through it.
I apologize for the transient traffic.
I'm liking it, but you notice none of them look at me and say, that's the star. Clearly. Either they're just being cool, like San Franciscans are.
Well, I know you have written a number of books. I know that you were a prime player in the Paul Gorman book about the history of rock and roll. I know
and a character in David Lee Roth's book.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was in there where it says like a cast of characters.
But try and...
Yay! I have to.
Oh my goodness!
Kiss this one.
I take it you know these people.
No, I just pick up all men and children. All men, basically, whatever the baggage. Okay, that isn't until yes, it is. I know.
We can edit it.
You can
no,
okay.
It's all right. I don't know.
What I find amazing is I know that you did a book on Motley Crue. I know that was a sound that you brought a lot of awareness to in the late 80s. And now you're here.
Yeah, cool, but I've got the Lord's Prayer. I've been given absolution.
Well, I'm Peter Lord too, so I can bless you.
Very
so
good.
Everything's okay.
Very good.
Traffic.
It's okay. It's okay. Come on in.
Hi.
And now you make this transition not only to performing yourself.
Yes,
you went from
one to the other. Not really.
Okay. How did that work?
Am I breaking into your question? I don't mean.
No, you're not.
Okay.
Please tell us.
Because really, when I started out, the reason I became a rock journalist is what all of the cliches say. Those that have an inner rock star and haven't managed to bring it to fruition. And when I was a kid, I was on stage and I got the most insane stage fright. And I stopped and I wrote about music, but I always
what were you performing on stage?
At that time, I had my own little sad songs, all in minor keys, and so sad songs have been consistent in my life. And I was playing guitar. Okay. Very badly, but then I specialise in playing, sort of like low level of skill instruments.
Okay.
And I play lots of things to a degree of just getting by on them. And my new one is the ukulele, which I love, and I've given up everything else pretty much for it. But I think I'm sort of singing a few of my sad songs and lots of Joni Mitchell songs.
Okay.
Thanks, Tom. And I just was absolutely terrified doing it on stage, so I was very happy to just write about music, but just play with friends. And then I guess finally, I don't know what it is, whether, somehow I'm getting nearer to it over time, or having gone on the road with my Leonard Cohen book, I was singing his songs. It's a way actually of making myself less nervous having to read the book. And as an end result, I guess I thought I could get up on stage. And
did Leonard Cohen have some kind of influence on you as far as the way you create and the way you write?
No, he stole it all from me. Everything, his whole career back to before I was in existence. It was still there. But he, you know, I certainly love the kind of spacious, simple melodies that he often has, and those, you know, very kind of mournful or bittersweet sounds to them. But not really. I think I was doing my own thing, and there was only one song really that seems to overlap. It was a song called "The Rose You that probably was it.
An important question, which I'm sure everybody wants to know, is why the ukulele? Because you've covered, you know, wailing guitars and smashing drum sets, and you know, I noticed you've got a bass up there, a cello.
It's just a big.
Yes. What happened then? And not. I think it's wonderful the way you've incorporated this into rock and roll music. And how did you come about the ukulele?
It came to me by accident in a strange way. I got a few ukuleles, not tons. Most people who have one uke have several. But they all kind of got given to me by mysterious men.
Okay.
And I just happened to, this was the first one I was given, and I fell in love with it. I, you know, just kind of sat there and played out my, I guess, all dark or sad thoughts or hopes or whatever. It all kind of came out. And I think it was a very intimate instrument, and usually like with a guitar it's so big, or a piano it's so big. Somehow I think the smallness of this, and the fact that I could just sit with it kind of curled up on the sofa, allowed the songs to come out so much more easily, and I think more representatively and honestly than they would have done had I sat with a guitar. Now when I play guitar, my fingers just go, forget it. Why are you doing this to me? Why with this big thing with 6 strings? This is now my instrument.
Do the songs come alive from the instrument, or do they come from you fed to the instrument?
It's hard to say. It does seem that we kind of get on very well together, me and this youth, and the songs do seem to have come out pretty much intact, you know, quite a lot of the time. Where, you know, I'd be sitting there just playing a chord or two, and then suddenly a song will come, and almost all I have to do is try and remember what it was when it's finished, because you don't quite know quite how that one came out, or you know, inner sadness comes along. But I mean, they are sad songs, and they are mostly about loss, and sometimes angry about loss, but mostly sad about loss. And I think that everybody has that in common, that feeling of trying to hold on to something that, for whatever reason, as you can't, is gone.
Well, how does it feel to be somebody who now is the performer and being on the front cover of the album of the month of Mojo magazine, and now people are interviewing you and coming to hear you
I'm
play?
going to blush, so we'll see how I feel.
The tables have turned.
Well, it's very strange. I mean, it feels quite natural to be making music, but unnatural to make it public, and so it's been delightful at the same time. It's totally, you know, I don't know, it makes me blush. Definitely makes me blush.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long. I'd just like to say that Glenn Brown wrote amazing precursor to your songs. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but he described "Come With Me Now" through a surreal little spot while under a twinkling desert sky, perhaps in a log cabin with a storm light on the table. A woman strums a ukulele and croons, and it goes on and on. And he talks about comparing you to Marianne Faithfull, and the kind of melancholy tone. He talks about Tom Waits similarities and all kinds of other musicians that, which is really hard to pin you to anything specific because you're so unique. In closing, I guess I'd just like to ask you, how do you feel being compared to Marianne Faithfull and Tom Waits? And, I mean, do you think that's accurate, or do you feel?
Well, I know I had a song, but no, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, people get Marianne is wonderful. I would never put myself in her league for a minute. But what's interesting is I've been also compared to Marianne Faithfull's daughter and Marianne Faithfull's grandma. So I'm trying to get the whole.
Are they musicians as well?
I haven't found that out. I have to do some investigation.
That would be interesting because I'd really like to.
I guess it's because it's an English accent, and you know, and it probably is unusual.
Well, it's delightful. Well, I'd like to conclude. We're here at the BFF.FM studios here in the Mission District. .fm.
Frequencies forever.
Best frequencies forever.
Yeah.
And we're going to be going into the other room, into the secret alley, and listening to you play. I've only gotten to hear one track from your CD, so I can't wait to hear it. I heard the first one. Yes, I love it. I loved it. And I can't wait to hear more. And I'm thrilled to be here live.
That's
And
the happy.
thank you so much for coming here. And I cannot wait to see what happens with your musical career.
I give you a hug.
Yeah, I love that.
Group hug.